Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Single best idea out on Apple Podcasts. And trust me, not 6 minutes, not 5 minutes. This could be a 30-minute single best idea. I'm not going to inflict that on you in August. But it's a set of incredible conversations today. Front and center was our conversation on this merger of Kellogg's snack food division into the private company Mars. They make Mars bars and Snickers, I guess, and things like that. But we covered that very carefully, and I think maybe that's a precursor of things to come. I'm really fascinated by, to the end of the year, what we see in terms of M&A, really at all capitalization levels. First, on inflation, interesting report, double barrel it. PPI before CPI. Thank you to Bob Cinch up in Connecticut for the observation that what was key here is PPI was out front of CPI. So maybe we didn't get the glory today. We got it yesterday. But there's a tinge of disinflation, certainly within those two reports. Retail sales tomorrow. On CPI, what to watch? Some very interesting observations out on lagging shelter inflation. Neil Dutta of Renmac on the mortgage rate.
Well, I mean, I certainly think that mortgage rates need to fall a lot more from here in order to juice the housing market, which means that the Fed has a little bit of work to do. It's interesting. If you look at mortgage rates, I mean, they're basically running at the lowest level since, I think, last spring. But you haven't really seen home sales or purchase demand run at the best level since last spring. So why would that be? And that's because I think inflation has slowed more rapidly. So 6.5% on a 30-year fixed looks a lot better when inflation's 4.5% than when it's 2%. And so just a reminder that real rates are still quite elevated.
Neil Dutta of Renmac there on inflation. And again, retail sales tomorrow. Retail sales is quoted before you take out inflation, what's called nominally. And I asked Mike McKee, does he take it out and adjust for inflation? He said sort of kind of like, but retail sales will be important tomorrow as we slide into an August weekend. On the ECO Go terminal screen, there are 20 lines of economic data tomorrow. That gives you an idea of the import of it. I could do a 1-hour discussion, a monologue, and bore you all to death over a conversation today with Stephen Ricchiuto of Mizuho. Steve Ricchiuto is one of the most prescient people in the game. He was absolutely spellbinding on the death of the study of Keynesian economics, the Hicksian, John Hicks, ISLM model. Not going to go into the details on it, but basically the LM curve of the X is the financial markets, and the IS curve of the X is the real economy markets. And we spent a lot of time talking about the real economy. The summation of it is he looks for an imputed larger inflation in America as the IS curve shifts to the right. Don't keep score at home on this. Don't draw any maps in your car. But the answer is he looks for a nudge to a more persistent inflation in America. Pushing against that is a global disinflation. Where does it meet? It meets in the currency market. Stephen Ricchiuto of Mizuho, the importance of the dollar.
Watch the currency. The currency is critical here because it's a debate, or it's a battle in the U.S. between domestic cyclical forces and global deflationary forces. And those global deflationary forces are real. They're palpable. I understand them. You don't have to go much beyond than just looking at the latest news coming out of China, and have to look at what's happening in terms of Europe and other parts around the world. Global deflation is real, but so is domestic cyclical inflation. And the currency has been the factor. DXY, your Bloomberg measure on the currency, went from parity 100 to 116. We're now coming back. We're at 102. I don't know what it is right now, but we broke through the 103 level. We're heading towards 102 earlier today. You get back to parity, and guess what? The dollar's no longer allowing global disinflation to be imported into the U.S. economy.
Stephen Ricchiuto of Mizuho there. DXY quoted at 102-ish. Ish means, take the decimal points into account. and it's come down from 104, 103, 102. The Bloomberg Dollar Index, which I call BBDXY, Bloomberg, get it, BBDXY, is 1240 something. And that's actually mathematically a much more interesting index. It takes into account EM and China and the rest, where DXY is only the major traditional European trading partners with Japanese yen as well. That was too much for an August? That was just way too much. We need to exit. Let's exit with this. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Thank you for the note out on Apple CarPlay today. I didn't know that when our guests come up, they come up on Apple CarPlay, which is very cool. On YouTube, thank you so much. Subscribe to Bloomberg Podcasts. Can't say enough about the growth of that, particularly internationally. And on Apple Podcasts, this is single best idea.